What if the single most important thing you could do for your health and to get stubborn weight moving has nothing to do with your diet? If you feel like you've been doing everything right with a low carb or ketogenic diet, but that scale won't budge, or some other issue you were hoping to resolve on keto isn't improving the way you expected it to, the missing link could be sleep. Poor sleep doesn't just leave you feeling tired and groggy. It disrupts your hormones, it messes with metabolism, and it can even increase hunger and cravings. So in this video, let's talk about the connection between sleep and metabolism and how prioritizing your sleep could be what helps all of those other pieces fall into place so you can move closer to your goals. Hey everyone, this is low carb and keto nutrition specialist Amy Berger, and you're watching Keto Without the Crazy, where I help people do low carb and keto diets in a simple, sane, and sustainable way. Before we get into things, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos on how to do keto, minus the gimmicks and confusion. In this video, I'm going to cover three main things. One, why sleep is so important for metabolic health and weight loss. Two, how to improve your sleep if it's not so great right now. And three, what to do if you can't do some of those things I'm going to suggest to improve your sleep. So let's get right into it. Why does sleep matter so much for metabolism? Sleep is kind of important. If you didn't realize, go 2 or 3 days without sleep and see how well you feel. See how sharp your thinking is. See how much energy you have. Everybody sleeps. Everybody needs sleep. In fact, I think I heard somewhere once that every single animal species studied ever sleeps. It might have a very different sort of sleep pattern than humans do, but every single organism studied to date has some kind of sleep pattern. That's how important it is. So when you do not get enough sleep, when you have too little sleep, that's called short sleep, or broken or disrupted sleep, meaning maybe you're in bed for 8 or 9 hours, but you're waking up constantly, then that actually increases insulin resistance. It reduces insulin sensitivity the next day, meaning that your body does not really process carbohydrates the same way as it would if you got better sleep. And of course, poor sleep, again, whether it's short sleep or broken sleep, really disrupts all the hormones and neurotransmitters and signaling molecules that control appetite. Who doesn't realize that you feel more hungry when you didn't sleep well the night before, right? And not only have you probably noticed that you are more hungry than usual, you're probably hungry specifically for carbs. There are foods that might seem very tempting, that you have cravings for, that when you are well rested, you have no problem staying away from. So you have probably experienced this numerous times. It's not like, oh, thanks for that newsflash, Amy, but I'm just sort of reminding you and setting the stage here for the fact that this is a real thing. It's not all in your head. It's not like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm craving carbs. Yeah, it's a real physiological phenomenon. You are looking for a quick pick-me-up. When you're tired and you're kind of dragging, you want energy. And when you need quick energy, are you thinking of a nice pile of steamed broccoli? Probably not. Are you thinking of a nice tray of roasted curry cauliflower? Probably not. How about a steak? Maybe you love steak. Maybe you love roasted cauliflower, but when you're really tired, not so much. All of a sudden, those cookies in the office break room look awfully good, don't they? That candy jar on your coworker's desk is calling out in a way that it doesn't do when you got better sleep the night before. So we've all experienced this. We know it's a real physiological thing. Something else that happens when you don't sleep well is that you negatively impact something called the glymphatic system. Not lymphatic system, glymphatic system. The glymphatic system, think of it as the sanitation crew in your brain. Your brain produces normal metabolic waste just as a byproduct of being alive and doing what it needs to do, but these things have to be cleared away. And that is what the glymphatic system does. And the glymphatic system is primarily active while you sleep. In fact, there are some very interesting connections between the glymphatic system and Alzheimer's disease, and sleep and Alzheimer's disease. By the way, did you know I wrote a book about Alzheimer's? It's called The Alzheimer's Antidote. You can find it on Amazon, or better yet, ask your local bookseller to get you a copy, The Alzheimer's Antidote. But yeah, this is really important. And so when we don't get enough sleep, we shortchange that process. And so this, gunk, to use the scientific term, this metabolic gunk kind of just accumulates in the brain. So you really want to get sleep, not only for your physical health, your cognitive function, but of course also mental health. Have you noticed maybe that when you didn't sleep well, you're kind of more irritable the next day? Maybe you have a shorter fuse than usual. Things that might be a little bit irritating, but they don't turn you into like, I'm going to murder somebody. You can handle those much better when you are well rested. And then compare that to maybe you had really poor sleep and that short fuse. This thing could really set you off when you normally wouldn't have that big a problem dealing with it. So, bottom line, sleep, important. So knowing that sleep is important, tell me, what is your biggest problem with sleep? Do you have trouble falling asleep? Do you have trouble staying asleep? Or maybe do you fall asleep fine and you stay asleep, but maybe you wake up way too early and you can't get back to sleep? Leave me a note in the comments, because maybe you will say something that helps somebody else. Okay, so if sleep is so critical, how can we improve the quality of the sleep that we're getting? If you are already a sleep rock star, a sleep ninja, maybe you don't need any of these tips, but listen, it's pretty rare that I come across someone who is a sleep ninja. Most of us, myself included, have some stuff going on that just takes away from the quality of our sleep, right? So a lot of different things to do, and you might be able to do some of them. You probably won't be able to do all of them. Don't worry about trying to do everything and trying to make everything perfect, right? The last thing we all need is more rules, right? So just think about what are the primary factors interfering with your sleep and maybe tackle those. And if you can't tackle those, tackle whatever you can. So one of the most important things to do is to try to keep a consistent rhythm, meaning go to sleep around the same time every night. It doesn't have to be exact, to the exact minute and second, but don't be going 2-3 hours different from night to night, so that like your brain has no idea what to expect. Are we going to bed at 9:30 tonight, or 1 a.m.? So your body likes rhythm. It's going to get accustomed to knowing like, oh, this time of night, time to go to sleep. Those of you that have children, kids have bedtimes precisely for this reason. It's really important for them to have a routine. If you just kind of let them stay up all night, they can just go to bed whenever, well, then they're never going to go to bed, or it's just going to be all over the map. And they will suffer the consequences the next day. And worse, you will suffer the consequences the next day of dealing with them when they haven't slept well because they're totally dysregulated. So let's not do that to ourselves. Again, try to get into that rhythm, that similar timing, so that your brain gets the message, okay, we're starting to wind down. So right along that line, have a wind down routine. Whether, maybe you want to turn the lights down at a certain time of the evening, or, no screens after X time of the evening. Maybe you actually just read a real book and sit under kind of a soft lamp. Some people have these goggles, the blue light blocking goggles. If you want to geek out and get that, that's fine. But there's sort of these low-tech ways to do that. Just kind of if you have a dimmer switch, that's even better. Just dim the lights. Something else that's important to do is, I would say, manage your caffeine intake. You don't necessarily have to limit caffeine, but you have to manage caffeine, or you want to limit caffeine to a certain window of the day. But this is a very individual thing. My dad can drink 2 cups of coffee and go right to sleep. And then there's other people who can't have coffee or another high caffeine beverage after, noon because they're going to be bouncing off the walls all night. So it really depends on whether you are what they call a fast metabolizer of caffeine or a slow metabolizer of caffeine, how long that caffeine lingers in your system and will affect your sleep. You probably already have some sense of how you respond to caffeine. Maybe you already even know that, oh, I can't have no coffee after 2 p.m. or no coffee after 10 a.m. or whatever it is. Just keep in mind that that can be an issue. Caffeine can linger in your body for hours. So you might not have made the connection that 2 p.m. coffee is affecting you at 11 p.m. or midnight even. So it's, again, a very individual thing, but keep in mind that that absolutely could be a factor. Another thing that can help your sleep and help you regulate your sleep is getting daylight in the morning. It doesn't have to be bright sun, like even if it's overcast, if it's cloudy out. And what this does is it entrains your circadian rhythm. Getting that daylight in the early part of the day, like ideally very early in the morning after you wake up, it actually sets the stage for your sleep later in the evening. So, I mentioned this sort of wind down routine, and that's great, but your nighttime routine actually starts in the morning. What you do in the early part of the day most definitely can impact what happens later on. And I'm actually going to read a definition to you. I wrote it down. A Zeitgeber is an environmental cue, such as the length of daylight or the degree of temperature, that helps to regulate the cycles of an organism's biological clock. And this is actually something I have been doing lately. I've been putting this into practice, going out on my balcony early in the morning, just sitting out there for a little bit. And I honestly think it's having an effect. Can I say for certain that that is either helping me sleep better or making me feel tired earlier? No, I probably can't say for sure, but if I had to guess, I would say that I do think it is having a positive impact for me. A couple of other things we can do to help improve our sleep is sleep in a cool, dark room. I don't know about you, but I cannot sleep when it's hot and the air feels heavy and it's just, I cannot sleep like that. Now, you don't have to freeze. If it's like freezing cold, it's hard to fall asleep too. Keep your bedroom comfortable. But most people, I think, find that they sleep better when it's cool. And of course, just as we want bright light in the morning, we don't want bright light while we're trying to fall asleep. One final thing that can help improve sleep is eating in sync with sleep. And eating in sync might mean different things to different people. It's probably not a good idea to go to bed on a giant full stomach, right? To eat a huge meal and then kind of collapse in bed. Not the best idea. But some people, myself included, cannot fall asleep if they're hungry. So you have to find a sweet spot between not being ravenous and not being like Thanksgiving stuffed right before bed. So, if you're having dinner at, 5 p.m., 6, 7 p.m., depending on how many hours later you go to sleep, how long is it between your evening meal and bedtime, you may or may not need a little something later on closer to bedtime. And it doesn't have to be a huge meal. If you feel a little bit hungry and you think that that would prevent you from sleeping or it's going to make it harder to fall asleep, then have something, but have just enough to take the edge off that hunger, right? Maybe 1 or 2 hard-boiled eggs, a little bit of cheese, just a little bit of something, a few bites of leftovers, just enough to control the hunger that you can feel comfortable and go to sleep, right? You don't have to eat a huge thing to not be hungry. Have any of these tips been helpful? Let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up. It helps me know that you want more content like this. So we've covered why sleep is really important for metabolism and health. We've covered ways to improve your sleep. And then I said I would also address what to do if you can't do some of those things that I mentioned. And you should be able to do some of them, but Let's say you are a shift worker, or you have a job that has a completely unpredictable schedule, or maybe you have a sick child, or you're caring for elderly loved ones. And so you may be called upon at any time to do something. There could be emergencies going on. What can you do if sleep is like, I don't know, sometimes I sleep amazing, sometimes I barely sleep at all. It's a total crapshoot, completely unpredictable. That's okay. Don't stress about it. Just do the best you can. When there are things that you can't control, or I kind of cringe at this word, but optimize, if you can't optimize everything, then focus on the things you can work on and do not feel the slightest bit guilty about the things that you can't address or that you can't address right now. Something else that I think is really important to address is, what if you're already doing all of that? What if you've got the blackout curtains? What if you're not going to bed on a really full stomach? What if you're sleeping in a room that's cool? What if you've got your wind down routine? You're doing all the things, as they say, and your sleep is still a mess. What then? Well, then I would recommend that you talk to your doctor because maybe you need to get evaluated for sleep apnea. Does your partner tell you that you snore like a freight train? Do you feel like you're dragging through the day and you're exhausted no matter how much you think you slept? Maybe you have sleep apnea. Get checked out for that. There are other conditions that can affect sleep. And of course, ladies, we all know that perimenopause, menopausal transition can absolutely wreak havoc with sleep. That's one of the most commonly reported things. It's like almost impossible to get good sleep. So talk to your doctor about maybe getting some hormone replacement if it's right for you. Don't suffer in silence, but again, control what you can control, address the factors that are within your ability to address. But if you've already done that and it's not helping and it's like things are still all over the place, then it absolutely would be worth talking to a medical professional to see if there's something else going on there. Tell me in the comments. I want to know what you're going to do. Tell me if you've done any of these things. Have you gotten the blackout curtains? Do you have a wind down routine? Do you get that early sunlight? And has it helped you? Has it actually moved the needle on weight loss or improving your health? Even if it's just helping you feel more energetic, helping you feel sharper, putting you in a better mood. All of that counts. It's not all about blood sugar and weight loss, right? Okay. Thank you for watching. I really hope this was helpful. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more of what? Keto without the crazy. And until next time, as always, promise me you will keep the crazy out of your keto. Thanks for watching.